At the beginning of tonight's show, we went through the White House's opening bid on the debt ceiling. You remember, it's $1.6 trillion in tax increases, $600 billion in spending cuts, $200 billion in new stimulus, and a very clear message to the Republicans. If you would like more Medicare cuts, then you propose them. Go right ahead. But that actually wasn't all that was in their opening bid. There was something else, too, something kind of awesome. There's also a proposal to end debt ceiling crises forevermore. The idea comes from a most unlikely source, Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, who proposed in July 2011 to permit the president to unilaterally raise the debt ceiling unless Congress affirmatively voted to stop him, and as long as he proposed some accompanying spending cuts. Now, those spending cuts, they didn't have to pass. Congress didn't have to like them or even vote on them. He just had to propose some, send them on over at the same time. And even if Congress did vote to stop him from raising the debt ceiling, a vote of disapproval, it would be called, the president could veto that. And then Congress would need to overturn his veto in order to keep the debt ceiling from going up. The White House wants to take this policy that Mitch McConnell proposed back in 2011 and make it law for all of time. They would ditch the spending cuts part, but the rest of it is pretty much the same. The effect would be to finish off the debt ceiling forever, make it no longer a threat to the economy. The president could raise the debt ceiling, and Congress, frankly, couldn't do much about it. Republicans are laughing this part of his opening bid off as a ridiculous pie-in-the-sky proposal. McConnell, for instance, who abandoned it long ago because Republicans hated it the second he proposed it, he's totally against it now. But it is actually a great idea, one that could do more to protect our economy in the future than anything else in the debt deal. Even better, it would cost us nothing. Measured by its cost effectiveness, it is perhaps the single best idea in American politics today. The debt ceiling is an anachronism. It is an accountability mechanism from the days when Congress didn't really involve itself very much in federal budgeting. Today, Congress exerts full control of the federal budget. The debt ceiling isn't imposing accountability on a runaway executive anymore. It is calling into question whether Congress will pay the bills it has already chosen to incur, like buying a TV and then taking a family vote on whether or not you'll pay for it when the check comes due. But the debt ceiling is not an adorable anachronism like grandfather clocks. It is a dangerous one, like bloodletting, lobotomies, and burning people you suspect to be a witch. If we crash through the debt ceiling, a global financial crisis could and probably would result. Even if we returned back to sanity and began paying our bills again, America's borrowing costs would be forever higher, and the market's confidence in our political system would be permanently harmed. The Bipartisan Policy Center estimates that the near miss we had in 2011 cost us $18.9 billion, billion with a B. That is $18.9 billion we lost for no reason. It didn't buy us any government services or lower anybody's taxes by even a dime. It is time to get rid of the debt ceiling. And don't take it from me. Take it from the policymakers who have had to deal with it before, like Alan Greenspan, former Federal Reserve Chairman.
I have a more fundamental question. Why do we have a debt limit in the first place? We appropriate funds, we have tax law, and one reasonably adept at arithmetic can calculate what the debt change is going to be. Mm-hmm. The Congress and the President have signed legislation predetermining what that number is. Why we need suspenders and belts is something I've never understood.
But now that we've got them, the question is...
Now that you've got them, the question essentially is there is a major problem in cutting spending. And anything that works, in my regard, is probably helpful. The difficulty that I have is you cannot have a position which stipulates that I will never allow the United States to default, but on the other hand, I will not allow the process to go forward unless there are additional actions with respect to the debt.
So you can't let it default?
Well, you can, but you shouldn't.
Former Treasury Secretary Robert Rubin agrees, as do a number of his successors in that position, including Treasury Secretary Larry Summers and former Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill. Paul O'Neill said it is hard to make a rational argument of the debt ceiling. You can make one. This is the one you actually hear, the rational argument for the debt ceiling. It is that the minority can use it to extract policy concessions from the majority, as Republicans did in 2011. In other words, the argument for the debt ceiling is that we should enter the American economy into a never-ending game of Russian roulette, because whichever party a majority of Americans did not vote for wants to keep their shot at the winnings. That is not a very good argument. It is long past time to get rid of the debt ceiling, and the modified McConnell-Obama plan is as good a way as any to do it. It gives lawmakers more than a chance to avoid a fiscal cliff or a fiscal curb. It gives them a chance to end America's flirtations with fiscal suicide. That is the last word. I am Ezra Klein, and for Lawrence O'Donnell. You can read my work at wonkblog.com. The Ed Show is up next.